The affirmative team plan is that the United States federal government will limit the scope of domestic surveillance under Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act to communications whose sender or recipient is a valid intelligence target and whose target poses a tangible threat to national security. With that being said, we should limit the scope of national surveillance because of our freedom. Things like our freedom and our liberty, and also, like, there's so many harms that I feel like affirmative side feels that as though our freedom should not be limited just because we need to decrease terrorism. We've stayed safe. Doesn't that just prove all the government's efforts have worked? No, it does not. But give me a second. I'm sorry. The NSA, there's 10 things wrong with the NSA surveillance of Americans. What exactly are they protecting us from? If instead of spending trillions of dollars on spying and domestic surveillance, we have spent that same money on repairing infrastructure and improving our schools, wouldn't we now have a safer, stronger America? Remember that famous after Vietnam War quote from an American officer taking about brutal attack on Bantry. It became necessary to destroy the town to save it. How can anyone say we are protecting our liberty and freedom by taking it away? Since 9/11, we have not had a comparable mass-scale terror attack. No dirty bombs at the Super Bowl, no biochemical nightmares, no suicide bombers in our shopping malls and theme parks. There have only been about 20 domestic terror-related deaths since 9/11. All this surveillance is distasteful and maybe even illegal, but isn't that necessary to keep us safe? Isn't it for our own good? Haven't times changed, and shouldn't we acknowledge that? Our court opinion that determined the government violated the spirit of federal surveillance laws and engaged in unconstitutional spying. Director of National Intelligence James Clapper directly lied to that check and balance branch of the government, Congress in a public session. He later returned his response as the least untruthful answer. And we wouldn't even know that he lied or much of anything else about the NSA surveillance activities here are global if it weren't for one man's courage in exposing them. The government kept it all from us for 12 years and never showed the slightest sign of reconsidering any part of that policy. Without Snowden, we would not even know what needs checking and balancing. In our plan, we kept referring to Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Act, and I have a copy of that for the ladies team if you want to read it. Basically, what is that doing is letting you know that you have boundaries to your surveillance. Our surveillance cannot go over these boundaries set in Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA short. Basically what it's saying is that the NSA surveillance we should limit their scope of their surveillance. So they're doing over the top, you're going over the top with all their surveillance. by invading our privacy and taking away our rights as people. Even the politically conservative and pro-business Economist magazine argued in 2013 an editorial video about surveillance that it had gone too far. This is where one of this newspaper strongly held beliefs that technology progress should generally be welcomed, not feared, runs up against an even deeper impulse. In favor of liberty, freedom has not to include some right to privacy. If every move you make is being chronicled, liberty is curtailed. It is incredibly NSA limits on keeping and using such information are weak, riddled with exceptions. Moreover, foreign targets are not limited to suspects, terrorists, or even agents of foreign powers. This is referring back to that section 702 that I gave you of the Foreign Intelligence Act. It's the fifth bullet down. Privacy advocates who supported the USA Freedom did so because they saw it as the first skirmish in a long battle to reign in surveillance authority. The eye is on the prize, a return to the principle of individualized suspicion as the basis for surveillance. The answer to U.S. freedom means for our liberty lies not in the where our liberty lies, not in the text of law, but in the unwritten story of what happens next. NSA does things the NSA surveillance threatens human freedom and dignity. It also causes a chilling effect. Surveillance has a potentially enormous chilling effect on society. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor recognized this. Awareness the government may be watching chills of social and expressive freedoms, and the government's unrestrained power to assemble data that reveal private aspects of identity and suspensional abuse. Also, the fear magnifies privacy loss. Some few will argue that loss of privacy might not be a concern at all. After all, most people do not harbor a crime or a scandal that they must hide behind claims to privacy. Their lives are too proper for that.
All right. Would you like any prep time, negative team, before cross-examination?
Yes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay.
Like I think up like basin